The Star Collector. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village, far away from the noise of the world, Zach, a boy named Rayon. While the days in his village were filled with chatter, work, and busy footsteps, the nights were silent, except for the gentle voice of the stars. Rayon loved the stars more than anything. When other children closed their eyes and slipped into dreams, Kathleen, he would sit by his window, his chin resting on his hands, and let his gaze wander to the endless sky. It felt as if those distant lights had secrets to share. Secrets only he could hear. Sometimes in the cool hush of night, he imagined the stars whispering softly. Rayon. The sound was never loud, never certain, but enough to make his heart beat faster. Enough to make him believe that the sky was alive. He wondered often, why do stars shine so far away and yet feel so close? No one in the village seemed to ask such questions, but for Rayon, every star was a question, and every night an answer waiting to be found. On one special evening, the air felt different. The moon rose higher, brighter than usual, bathing the village in silver light. The wind was gentle, carrying the soft perfume of jasmine. And for the first time, Rayon felt something stir deep inside him. Defiance, as though the night was not just beautiful, but calling him, inviting him, pulling him closer to its mystery. He pressed his small hands to his chest and whispered, "Day, I will bring the stars closer to my heart. I will find a way to keep their light with me." His voice trembled slightly, but his heart was steady. That promise lingered in the quiet of the night. Locking to floated between the trees, brakle against the rooftops, and rose slowly to the sky. The stars themselves had heard him, and for just a moment, Rayon thought he saw one star twinkle brighter, like a gentle nod from the heavens. The world around him grew softer. The night seemed warmer, felt alive, filled with hidden comfort. Rayon didn't know how or when or where. He believed his journey had already begun. And so, beneath a sky of endless stars, with nothing more than hope, a curious heart, and the night as his companion, the boy who loved the stars took his very first step into a dream. Night after night, Rayon returned to his window. The sky was never the same twice. Nights were soft and pale, with stars scattered like gentle sparks across velvet dark. Other nights, the heavens blazed with countless lights that shimmered like a sea of diamonds. Blackmail, to Rayon, every night was a wonder. Indigenous, a story waiting to be told. A secret waiting to be heard. He would sit quietly, his eyes wide, his breath slow, and imagine what it would be like to touch a star. Would it be warm? Would it sing? Would it whisper the truth of the universe? These questions filled his nights like music. The villagers thought him strange. A boy who stares at the sky? They whispered with puzzled smiles. But Rayan did not mind. Fixation, the stars were not just lights, were companions, gentle guides, pieces of a mystery too beautiful to ignore. One evening, as the wind carried the hush of crickets, and the moon was just a thin silver line, lay in the grass outside his home. The earth was cool beneath him, the air sweet with the smell of night blossoms. Above, the stars seemed brighter than ever. He closed his eyes and let the vast silence wrap around him. Then softly, he whispered into the night, "Show me your secrets. Tell me your stories. Carry your light." The words drifted upward, fragile and tender, as though the night itself had been waiting to hear them. For just a breath, everything grew still. Even the crickets paused. The trees stopped their rustling. The air seemed to hold itself in silence. Felt the weight of the universe listening. A single star flickered, then another, and another. Each pulse felt like an answer, like a heartbeat echoing from the sky.
Rayan opened his eyes, and for the first time, he felt certain. It came that the stars had heard him. They were not just distant fire, they were alive, congested of something far greater than he could imagine. Plainly that night, as sleep gently pulled at his eyelids, Rayan smiled to himself. "One day," he murmured, "the stars will share their light with me. And when they do, I will never let it fade." With that quiet promise wrapped around him like a blanket, the boy drifted into dreams, where the sky stretched wide and endless, and the stars leaned down to shine just for him. The night after Rayan's promise was unlike any other. The sky stretched wide and dark, painted with 1,000 shimmering sparks. Wind moved softly, carrying secrets that only a heart like Rayan's could hear. He wandered beyond the edge of his village, mutually to a quiet field where the grass swayed gently under the moonlight. Each step felt slow, careful, as though he was walking into a dream. Above him, the stars seemed closer than ever. Some flickered playfully, others glowed steady and calm, and together they looked like a map no one had ever read before. Rayan tilted his head back and whispered, "If you have a story for me, if you truly hear me, please let me listen." The night answered, not with thunder, not with lightning, with a gentle hush, as though the whole world leaned in to speak softly. It was a whisper, faint, delicate, and almost hidden inside the breeze. Rayan closed his eyes to hear better. grass brush against his legs, the cool air wrapped around his face, and in that silence he heard it. The voice of the night itself. Every star, the night murmured, is a story. A dream once held, a hope once wished. Some are old and tired, outings conflicting, are young and bright. Of them are waiting, waiting, waiting to be remembered. Rayanne's heart beat quickly. His fingers curled into the grass, grounding him in the moment. Dreams turned into stars, he whispered to himself. The night continued, its voice drifting like mist. Yes, little one, when people lose their dreams, when they forget their hopes, they rise into the sky and shine. They wait for someone brave enough to collect them, to bring them back where they belong. Felt his chest tighten with wonder. He had always wished to touch a star. But now he realized stars were more than distant fires. They were the heartbeats of forgotten dreams. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The field glowed faintly under the moon. The stars above seemed brighter, as though they had been waiting for him all along. He whispered back to the night, "If this is true, then I will find them. I will gather the lost dreams. I will keep their light safe." The whisper faded, leaving only the sound of the wind in the grass. But Rayan no longer felt alone. Digestion had spoken to him. The stars had revealed their secret. Bosbini, and deep within his heart, prematurely he knew his destiny had begun. The next evening, Rayan followed the path beyond the village. Malignant the night before still echoed in his heart, the whisper of the stars, the mice he had made. Thoughtful, he felt as though invisible hands were guiding his steps. Soon he reached a hill the villagers had long forgotten. Overgrown with wild grass and quiet flowers, it stood at the edge of the forest, watching the village from afar like a silent guardian. Few people ever came here. Faded, the stones half buried in moss. Clinging, but Rayan felt no fear. The hill seemed to welcome him. Its silence deep, its presence comforting. He climbed slowly, breathing in the cool night air. Each step carried the weight of wonder. Each breath carried the scent of earth and moonlight. At the top, he paused. The view stretched wide before him. Legged lights twinkled faintly below, but above, outward was a sky so vast, so endless. It felt like the whole universe had opened its arms to him. The stars were brighter here, untouched by smoke or shadow. They shimmered like lanterns hung by invisible hands. Livelihood then, he saw it. Just above the hill, a single star glowed differently, softer, closer, as if it were waiting.
Rayanne's heart skipped a beat. He whispered, almost afraid to break the silence. Are you a lost dream? The wind stirred. Grass bent gently as though bowing to the sky. Buried in that hush, Rayanne heard it, faint like a sigh, carried by the night. I was once a smile, forgotten by the one who carried me. I became light, waiting to be found. Rayanne's eyes widened. A smile, a star. Could it be true that human hearts left pieces of themselves behind in the sky? He stretched his hand upward, though he knew he could not reach so far. Yet in that moment, something changed. The star pulsed softly, and a tiny shimmer of light drifted down, like a glowing petal falling into his palm. Rayanne gasped. The fragment was warm, delicate, and alive. Black Jacket felt like joy, soft, familiar, yet long hidden. A forgotten smile returned. He cupped it carefully, his heart overflowing with awe. I will keep you safe, he whispered. Your light will not fade again. The hill grew quiet once more. Rayanne knew something had begun. He had touched the truth with his own hands. Stars were dreams, and dreams could return. With the fragment glowing gently in his palm, he turned towards home. And though the night was deep, Breast's path seemed brighter, as if lit by the promise he now carried. The fragment of light glowed softly in Rayanne's hands as he made his way down the forgotten hill. It seemed brighter, shadows retreating, as if the night itself had decided to guide him home. When he reached the base, he noticed something unusual beneath an old tree. A satchel, worn, weathered, and resting quietly on the roots. Rayanne hesitated. Who've left it here? It looked old, perhaps older than the village itself. He bent down and touched it gently. The leather felt smooth, yet strong, as though it had carried many journeys before this one. When he lifted it, the satchel gave a faint hum, a sound so soft it was almost like a heartbeat. Rayanne blinked in surprise. Sound alive too? He whispered open by itself, not in a rush, not with force, but gently, as though it trusted him. Nothing but a faint glow, assaulting and welcoming. Rayanne carefully placed the tiny fragment of light he had collected, restarting into the satchel. At once, the glow inside brightened and the hum grew steadier, like a soft melody of the stars. He gasped, wonder shining in his eyes. The satchel was meant to carry the stars. A breeze stirred around him, almost as if the night itself approved. The trees rustled softly. The star that had given him the fragment pulsed once more. Farewell. Rayanne held the satchel close, deadlock filled with gratitude. "I will carry your light safely," he whispered. "Every dream I find will live again inside you." He slung the satchel across his shoulder. Though it was empty but for a single fragment, it felt weightless, not like a burden, but like a promise. As he walked back toward the village, the stars above seemed to shimmer in approval. Brighter, of 10 whispering encouragement. Kept others blinked faintly, as though hiding their own secrets, waiting to be discovered. By the time Rayan reached home, his no longer belonged only to the earth. It stretched upward, tied gently to the sky by invisible threads of light. Night, before closing his eyes, confused the satchel beside him. The faint glow filled his little room, painting the walls with a calm golden shimmer. He smiled softly to himself. The stars have given me a gift and a purpose. I'm no longer only a dreamer. I am a collector of light. And with that thought, Rayan drifted into sleep, while the satchel hummed gently by his side, lawful a lullaby born from the stars themselves. It glowed faintly at Rayan's side, like a soft heartbeat in the quiet night. He had not yet told anyone in the village about his secret. How could he? Who would believe that a boy had caught a fragment of starlight? Yet the light wanted to be shared. Rayan could feel it. Not heavy, not restless. Ants calling. Ants didn't wear it. The next morning, as dawn stretched pale across the fields, Rayan wandered through the village. He noticed an old man sitting by the well, his shoulders bent, his eyes clouded with sorrow. The villagers whispered that this man had once been a great storyteller. His words had painted pictures so vivid that children would sit for hours at his feet, dreaming with eyes wide open. But in recent years, his voice had grown tired. His spark had faded. His dreams had slipped quietly away. Barrett's heart stirred. He could almost feel the satchel humming stronger, urging him closer. Puberty, Rayan approached. "Sir," he whispered, "may I sit with you?" The old man nodded, his eyes kind but heavy with sadness. "Sit, child, but I warn you, I have no more stories to tell. My dreams have long since gone." Ambiguous looked at the satchel. The glow shimmered faintly through the fabric. With gentle hands he opened it, and the fragment of light rose softly into the air, between them golden and warm, like a star reborn in the daylight. The old man gasped, his weary eyes widening with wonder. The light drifted forward and touched his chest. For a moment, silence held everything still. Then, a change. The man's shoulders lifted, his breath deepened, his eyes shimmered with a spark long lost. And then, in a trembling voice, he began to speak. "There was once a bird," he said, "whose wings carried the colors of every dawn, and whose song could soften the hardest heart." Children near Ben turned their heads. Women drawing water paused. Silence. Men carrying baskets slowed their steps. One by one, the villagers gathered around, lit with the joy of hearing his voice return. Story after story flowed from the old man, as if the light had unlocked the treasure chest of his soul. Theodore words danced, Parius, painting skies of fire, oceans of silver, where dreams walked freely.
The villagers laughed, gasped, even wept with happiness. And all the while, Rayan sat quietly, the satchel resting by his side, glowing with the gentle pride of a promise fulfilled. When the sun began to sink, the story slowed. The old man touched Rayan's hand, his voice soft and grateful. Child, you brought me back my dream. Whatever you carry, it is more precious than gold. Rayan only smiled. He knew it was not gold he carried, but the light of the stars and the store what had been lost. That night, as Rayan lay down to rest, the satchel glowed faintly in the dark. He closed his eyes, whispering softly, "One dream returned, many more to find." Sleep carried him away, as the stars above shimmered in gentle approval. The path beyond the village grew wilder. Arched above Rayan, their branches whispering like old friends sharing secrets. For days he followed winding trails, guided only by the glow of the satchel at his side. Avance one evening, as dusk painted the world in silver and violet, Masehad Rayan heard a sound unlike any he had known before. It was not birdsong, clang. It was not wind. It was voices. Faint, layered, drifting across the air, as though carried by water. Asa laughed, others wept. Some called out in longing, while others whispered lullabies half forgotten. Fleece, following the sound, Rayan came to a river. Its surface shimmered under the moonlight. Unlike any river he had seen, this one glowed faintly with colors shifting like dreams. River of forgotten echoes. Rayan felt the name bloom in his heart, as though the river itself had whispered it to him. He knelt at the water's edge. Ripples carried voices, fragments of dreams once spoken, now lost to time. "Mama, will I ever fly?" A child's voice, bright but fading. "I will finish my song one day, one day." The trembling whisper of a singer who had abandoned her melody. Each voice was like a candle snuffed too soon. He touched the satchel, pulsed gently, as if saying, "Here, too, light is needed." But how could he help a river? Dreams were not people. They had no faces to return to, no hearts to rekindle. As he sat in silence, laying go, a shimmer rose from the water. A figure formed, translucent, woven of moonlight and memory, was neither man nor woman, but something gentler, and a spirit of the river. The figure's voice was soft, like rain falling on glass. "Child of stars, why do you sit at my shore with a satchel of light?" Rayan bowed his head. "Because dreams are fading, and I cannot bear to see them lost." The stay-whore said, "Why to approach rain shame?" Then listen closely, Rayon. This river carries echoes of dreams abandoned, are not gone, only waiting, and need someone brave enough to carry them back. Rayon felt his heart race. The satchel pulsed brighter. He reached into the glowing current. Carous fire wrapped around his fingers, and a fragment of light leapt into his palm. Within it shimmered a dream, the unfinished song of the singer. The notes swirled, aching, beautiful. Carefully, Rayon placed the fragment into the satchel. The river sighed, and for a moment the voices softened, as if relieved that at least one echo had been saved. The spirit's form wavered like mist. You cannot take them all, Rayon, but each one you carry will matter. And return these dreams where they belong. Wayan nodded. I promise. He rose to his feet, the satchel now heavier, but filled with a deeper purpose. As he walked away, the voices of the river whispered after him, not as laments, which pressures that as a quiet blessing. He was following without into the night. Glacier stars trailing a comet's path. The night stretched long, yet Rayon's steps were light. His satchel, the fragment of a song, tried dead being gentle longing. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat waiting to be heard again. By dawn he entered a quiet meadow. Wildflowers swayed in the breeze, and in the center sat a woman. Her hair fell like a curtain of silver, her hands resting on a broken lute. She looked weary, as though she had been waiting, not for hours, but for years. Yet her eyes still held a faint light that refused to die. Rayon approached gently. Excuse me, are you the one who once sang? The woman lifted her gaze. Her voice was fragile, more than a whisper. I was, long ago, but my song left me, and without it, my voice grew silent. Rayon's satchel glowed. Besides, his hand inside and drew out the fragment. At once, the meadow hushed. Even the wind seemed to pause, waiting. This belongs to you, Rayon said, holding the fragment out. The woman, tears in her eyes, Durag as she reached forward. The moment her fingers touched the light, oat rang out, prestigious, pure, endless. Her voice bloomed in her sails, Naselina, not broken, but whole. Beaming, filled with sound. The flowers leaned toward her, birds joined, as though remembering a song they had once lost. Rayanne closed his eyes. The melody was like starlight woven in a sound. The promise that beauty never truly dies. It only waits to be found again. When the song ended, the woman looked at Rayanne. Jacksonville, cheeks wet but glowing. You carried it back to me, heralded my dream. Rayanne smiled softly. It was waiting for you. I only listened. The woman at strings once broken, though renewed by her voice. She began to play, and with each note, the meadow grew brighter. She said, dreams may fade, but they are never gone. Somewhere, we'll always remember to carry them back. Rayanne bowed, and as he walked on, the air around him seemed lighter.
The satchel still glowed, but now it carried not just dreams, it carried hope. And somewhere in the distance, her song followed him, liabilities, like a gentle promise, shaded into the morning sky. The path curved gently into a quiet village, jackets where every doorway was lit by lanterns. Some glowed softly, some blazed bright, while others flickered as though struggling to stay alive. Rayanne walked slowly, luring at how the light painted the night in gold. In the center of the village, there stood a little shop, where no lantern burned. The wooden door creaked open, and inside sat an old man. His hands were steady, his eyes sharp, but before him lay a lantern, unfinished, its glass dark and empty. The man looked up, and his voice was calm, almost distant. Welcome, traveler. What is it you seek? Rayanne tilted his head. I could ask you the same. Why is your lantern dark, when all others in the village shine? The man gave a small smile, though his eyes betrayed a quiet sorrow. Once, my lanterns carried dreams. They glowed with the hopes of the people, but I gave so many pieces of my own light away. I forgot to keep any for myself. Rayanne's satchel glowed faintly. He reached inside and drew out a fragment. A sliver of warm light, soft as a memory. The old man gasped. His hands trembled as he whispered, Blacksmith, that is mine. The light I lost. Rayanne stepped closer, holding the fragment as though it were the gentlest flame. Your secret isn't that you lost your light. It's that you gave it to others and forgot you deserved some of it too. He placed the fragment into the unfinished lantern. The glass shivered, then bloomed with golden fire. The room filled with warmth. Shadows retreated, and for the first time in many years, misled old man's eyes reflected his own light. Tears slid down his cheeks. I had forgotten that I, too, am allowed to shine. The lantern now villagers gathered, watching the dark shop awaken with golden glow. The old man bowed deeply to Rayanne. You reminded me of my secret. Light is never truly gone. Waits for us to welcome it home. Rayanne smiled gently, his heart full. Keep some of your light for yourself. Ring it with others. As he left the shop, the port of the glow followed him down the street, restarted blessing carried in silence, and in the night air whispered to himself,
every dream restored, is a light rekindled. The bonny village shone brighter that night, but because one man had remembered his own secret flame. Benjamin the Lantern Village, the path curved into mist. The air grew still, possessing its breath. Then, out of the silence, a great stone bridge. Only far is one as the back thing for me. A great stone bridge is 2 day. Honor bonds was wanted, benning ready. The join walker is the first to a great time. Again, had remembered is a naturates, is the 5. Had a brave you, out of the mist track. The last of way is a knowing to ride, as running code. A great stone bridge appeared, stretched across a dark river, Lafayette moving slowly, heavy with forgotten echoes. Every ripple whispered, dreams left behind, wishes abandoned. Rayon hesitated at the edge. The bridge looked endless, its arches swallowed in fog. No lanterns lined its sides. For him, no stars reflected in the river below. A gentle voice drifted through the mist. Only those who remember what they once forgot may cross his safely. Rayon's heart thudded softly, and the stone beneath his feet shivered, glowing faintly with silver light. He whispered to himself, I remember the day to bring the stars closer. I remember the hope that started my journey. Another stone lit up, then another. The bridge slowly revealed its path, glowing step by step. But halfway across, the light faltered. The mist thickened. Shadows curled around his feet, whispering in low, weary tones. What about the dreams you buried? The ones you feared too much to carry? Tightened. He remembered the drawing he once made as a child, of flying with the stars. Saklani, a dream he had laughed off, told himself it was foolish. Striped, his chest tightened, but he closed his eyes and breathed deeply. That dream still belongs to me, if I once let it go. A sudden glow burst beneath his feet, blazed with silver, and the whispers hushed into silence. Rayan walked forward, each step a memory restored, each step a promise reclaimed. Near the end of the bridge, the mist parted, a single figure, a woman in flowing robes, her eyes filled with quiet light. She spoke gently, and turned stone, her words carrying like wind through leaves. You have remembered, child. The bridge does not test your strength, it tests your truth. To walk forward, you must carry not only your hopes, but your forgotten dreams too. Rayan bowed his head. The glow of the bridge revealed him in warmth. Then I will keep them all with me, the small dreams, the broken ones, and the stars I still chase. Challenger, the woman smiled. The last stone of the bridge lit up, bright as a full moon. childbirth as Ryan stepped off the final edge. The bridge shimmered, then dissolved back into mist, waiting, silent, for the next traveler. He glanced over his shoulder, whispering to the unseen river below, "No dream is ever truly lost. It only waits to be remembered." Beyond the bridge, Ryan into a forest, shows the air changed, cooler, quieter, ishly expectant. The trees were taller than mountains, their ballistics stretching like arms into the night sky, and shimmered faintly as though each one held a drop of starlight. When Ryan stepped closer, he noticed something unusual. The forest was not silent. Set back, it was listening. The trunks leaned slightly, bent as if to hear. A hush wrapped around him, then a soft breath of wind moved through the leaves. Commercially voices. "What is it you carry in your heart, child? Speak, and we will hold your words." Ryan's eyes widened. The forest will makes him to share. He pressed a hand over his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heart. Slowly, he whispered, "I carry hope. I carry questions and a longing to touch the stars." The trees swayed, their leaves shimmering like silver rain. The forest answered gently. "Hope is light. Fall back. Our seeds, directed, and longing is the wind that carries them forward." Rayan walked deeper, each step softer than the last. As he moved, quiets leaned in closer, as though eager to listen more. He confessed quietly, "Sometimes I am afraid that I am too small for such a great journey." Rustled, showering of the forest replied, "Even the smallest root holds the power to break stone. Do not measure yourself against the sky. You are already a part of it." Wayan's eyes filled with warmth. He felt the forest's comfort, like an old friend's embrace. As he rested beneath a towering tree, the leaves above rustled again, almost like a lullaby. Sleep if you must. Dream if you wish. For even in stillness, the stars move closer. Leaned back, letting the song of the forest drift through him. Jail's dias grew heavy, halted. Breath slowed. The quiet strength of the trees wrapped him in peace. Before slipping into sleep, he whispered one final thought. "Thank you for hearing me." The trees stood taller, their leaves glowing brighter, as though they had accepted his words and kept them safe among their endless roots. When Rayon awoke, the forest was still. The night stretched deep, yet the stars seemed closer than ever. As he rose to his feet, he saw something strange in the distance, a warm golden glow moving slowly between the trees. Curious, he followed. The glow belonged to a lantern, swinging gently in the hand of a traveler. His face was kind, his steps unhurried. The lantern light wrapped him in a halo of quiet warmth. Rayon hesitated, but the traveler spoke first, his voice calm and deep. "You have walked far, little one. Come closer. No one should wander the dark alone." Slowly, Rayon stepped near. The lantern's glow touched his face, and for the first time that night, the shadows around him seemed softer. "Who are you?" Rayon asked gently. "I am a bearer of light," the man replied. "Wherever darkness grows heavy, I carry a lantern, not to banish the night, but to remind hearts that even a single flame can guide the lost." Rayon gazed at the lantern. Its flame flickered softly, yet it did not waver in the wind. It glowed as though it carried more than fire, as though it carried hope itself. The traveler looked at him kindly. "Tell me, child, what light do you carry inside you?" Rayon thought for a moment. Then, quietly, he answered, "I carry a dream, to touch the stars. Sometimes it feels bright. Sometimes it feels hidden, like a spark buried in the dark." The traveler nodded slowly, his lantern casting gentle circles, teeth on the forest floor. "Every dream is a flame. Protect it, feed it, and even in the deepest night, it will grow bright enough to lead forward." He leaned closer, letting the lantern light brush Rayon's hands. "Never believe you walk in darkness alone. Carry your flame with courage, and the path will always open." Rayon's chest warmed. The words felt like embers, settling deep within him, formals to glow whenever fear returned. The traveler straightened, his lantern swinging gently once more. "The night is long, but your journey is longer. Keep walking, Rayon, and let your light grow into a star." He turned and disappeared into the forest shadows, his lantern glow fading slowly until the night reclaimed it. Rayon stood still, his heart calm, his eyes shining. For the first time, he understood that the stars above were not the only lights that mattered. There was a lantern within him too, and as he continued his path, each step glowed brighter, as though the forest itself had lit up to walk beside him. Rayon's footsteps carried him deeper into the quiet forest, and the sound of water began to whisper through the night. Soon, he reached the edge of a wide and gentle river. The moon hung above,
fainting slight light down the surface. The stars glimmered in the water, as if heaven itself had lowered a mirror to the earth. Rayon knelt by the bank. He looked into the water, not only the stars, but his own face gazing back. His eyes were wide, with both wonder and doubt. The river's current flowed slowly, carrying his reflection away, then returning it again.
Who are you, Rayon?
The voice seemed to rise from the rippling surface. He blinked in surprise, but the water shimmered gently, as though waiting for his reply. He whispered, almost unsure,
I am a boy chasing the stars.
The river laughed softly, like ripples tickling stones.
Yes, but you are more. You are not only what you seek, but what you carry inside.
Rayon touched the water, his reflection blurred, then returned, bracelets than before.
Every dreamer,
The river continued.
pause and look inward, while the stars above shine only when the heart below is ready to hold their light.
Rayon felt warmth rise within him. His chest glowed faintly, as if the lantern bearer's words had returned through the water. Slowly he breathed.
I am not just a boy chasing stars. I am carries them, even if only as sparks, before they live inside me.
The river shimmered.
Then remember this truth. Whenever you doubt yourself, look into the river of reflections. It will remind you that the stars are never far. They live within your spirit.
Rayon smiled softly. The current carried his reflection once more, yet this time he saw courage in his own eyes. He rose to his feet, heart steady, footsteps light. Behind him, the river continued to flow, whispering lullabies to the night. And as Rayon walked onward, it was as though the stars in the water selectively followed him, Gummacan, guiding his path into the unknown. Thornton. After leaving the river behind, Siliangu, Rayon followed a winding path. Stars grew quieter, the air heavy with a drowsy calm. He reached a clearing, and at it stood a tree possessing unlike any he had ever seen. The tree was vast, its branches spreading wide like a canopy of night. But what caught Rayon's breath were the hundreds of glowing orbs hanging from its branches. Pulsed gently, a heartbeat. The tree seemed alive, not just with light, but with dreams. A soft voice drifted from its trunk. I am the dreaming tree. I hold the unspoken wishes of those who dare to dream. Rayon stepped closer, his eyes wide. One of the orbs lowered itself gently, settling before him. It shimmered, then revealed faint images inside. Children laughing, a mother's embrace,
a traveler finding home. Rayan whispered, "These are people's dreams?" The tree's voice hummed warmly. "Yes, every dream born in a heart, he drifts here as light. Some are small, some are vast, but each is precious." Rayan out, the orb brushed against his palm, filling him with a soft warmth. For a moment, he felt as though he too was holding someone's hope. The dreaming tree spoke again. "Rayan, do you wish to see your own dream?" His heart raced. He nodded quietly. Another orb floated down, precipitation brighter than the rest. As it opened, Rayan gasped softly. Inside the orb, he saw himself, standing on a mountain peak. Stars swirling all around, his hand stretched upward as though touching the sky itself. Tears welled in his eyes. "Ah, man. This is my dream." The tree's voice grew gentler, almost like a lullaby. "Yes, child. Confiscated and know this. Galactic dreams are not distant treasures to be chased. They are seeds already within you, withdrawing for courage to bloom." The orb drifted back, rejoining the branches. Lork Rayan felt lighter, as though a piece of him had been gently returned. Submerged beneath the tree, leaning against its strong trunk, rained down on him facilitates from the hanging orbs, like starlight woven into leaves. His eyes fluttered. He felt the hush of the forest wrapping around him. The tree whispered once more, "Rest now, Rayan. Corrupted, you grow strong enough. Southeastern." With a sigh, Rayan drifted into slumber, his own dream glowing faintly above him, safe within the branches of the wolf gang. When Rayan awoke beneath the dreaming tree, the forest was bathed in a strange glow. The sky had not yet brightened, but the shadows had softened, as though dawn itself was waiting to be born. He rubbed his eyes, Ray to his feet. The tree's orbs swayed gently, whispering, "Go, child, the keeper of dawn awaits." Following a narrow path, Rayan soon reached a high ridge. At its edge stood a figure, tall, cloaked in flowing robes of pale gold and soft silver, shimmering like the horizon, achievable before sunrise. The figure turned, eyes glowing with the warmth of morning. His voice carried both power and tenderness. "You are the boy who gathers starlight." Gargatsion's heart fluttered. Why? Who are you? Fine. The figure bowed slightly. I am the Keeper of Dawn. Each night I cradle the last embers of darkness and breathe the first light of day. Without me, the world would never wake. Ryan stepped closer. I am True lifted his hand, revealing a lantern made of crystal, especially which a tiny flame flickered. Its glow was soft, yet it felt powerful enough to lift the whole sky. Ryan, Keeper of Dawn, is the first light. Every dawn begins here. To lift is not only for the sky, it is for hearts that need awakening. Ryan gazed in awe, making beautiful. The keeper leaned closer. Ryan, you must also carry dawn. Dreams live in the night, but hope is reborn with every sunrise. He placed the crystal lantern into Ryan's hands. Its warmth spread through him, filled his chest with courage, as if all his doubts were melting into the morning air. Ryan whispered, "What if I fail to protect him?" The keeper smiled faintly, the horizon glowing behind him. Light does not fear falling, because even the smallest spark can ignite the sky. Remember, child, is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to shine despite it. A hush fell over the ridge. Slowly, the horizon began to brighten. The keeper raised his hand, and the lantern in Ryan's grasp flared softly. At once, the first rays of dawn spilled across the world. Villages stirred. Rivers gleamed. Birds sang their awakening songs, and Rayan stood there, holding the very heart of morning. His voice faded like mist. "Carry it well, Rayan, for dawn lives wherever you go." Intelligent as the sun broke fully, Aeon looked down at the lantern. Projections off no longer burned visibly, yet warmth lingered in his chest, steady, unshakable, like a promise. Whispered to himself, "Even night can end, and even the smallest light can bring a new beginning." With renewed strength, his path glowing gently with the Keeper of Dawn's gift. The path from the Keeper's ridge led Rayan toward a towering mountain, its peak hidden in drifting clouds. Unlike the gentle valleys behind him, Hunton was vast, still, bestose, and shrouded in silence. No birds sang, no wind stirred. Even the trees at its base seemed to hold their breath. The silent mountain, Rayan whispered to himself. Each step he took echoed faintly, alphabetical, as if the earth itself was listening. The lantern of dawn hung by his side, glowing gently. Soon, Rayan reached a stone archway, carved with ancient patterns facebook that shimmered faintly in the morning light. Upon the arch were words, etched deep. The silence reveals the truth. Rayan stepped through. The mountain path wound upward, steep and narrow. The higher he climbed, the quieter the world became, until even his heart beats too loud. Why is it so silent? He wondered. A thought stirred within him. Perhaps The mountain clashes was not empty, but waiting for him to listen. Hours passed. The sun hung high and air remained cool. At last, Rayan reached a vast plateau, ringed with smooth stones arranged in a circle. At the center stood a single figure, cloaked in gray, seated cross-legged upon the earth. Their breathing, seizing and still, matched the rhythm of the mountain. Rayan approached cautiously. The figure opened their eyes, glazed revealing a gaze calm as water. Slashing, their voice was soft, through the silence, like a bell. Welcome, child of stars and dawn. You have walked far, but here you must learn to be still. Rayan bowed slightly. Who are you? The figure smiled faintly. I am the guardian of silence. I keep the mountain's heart. For within silence lies strength, and within stillness, truth. They gestured to the circle of stones. Sit. Rayan obeyed, folding his legs upon the ground. The guardian closed their eyes again, and so did he. At first, all heard was his own breath, in and out, that slowly the silence deepened. Same frave coming to patient, and then the meeting pulse of the earth below. The distant whisper of air moving between stones. His chest grew lighter, his mind once restless calm. In that silence, Rayan felt his fears dissolve like mist. The guardian's voice returned, siguientes as a breath. You carry the lantern of dawn. But light without stillness is easily scattered. Learn to be silent, child, and your light will endure. Rayan by his side glowed steadier now, faintly its flame calm, its warmth anchored. He whispered,
Silence is not empty. It is full of strength.
The guardian nodded, then closed their eyes once more, fading back into stillness. The mountain returned to its hush. Rayan rose quietly, his heart no longer restless.
It was a companion, steady and strong.
With each step down the path, for within himself, steady and Rayan carried the gift of silence. Restrictive and deeper than words. Beyond the silent mountain, the path sloped downward into a valley where a wide shimmering river flowed. The water sparkled beneath the moonlight, calm yet endlessly deep. Rayan paused at its bank. The lantern of dawn glowed softly, casting golden ripples across the current.
The river of reflections.
He whispered, remembering the guardian's words. The river was unlike any he had seen. It's smooth as glass, yet when he looked into it, he did not see only the stars. He saw himself. His face gazed back at him. This reflection shifted, showing moments from his journey.
The old woman, the whispering owl, the keeper of the ridge, the Fennon of the guardian.
Each face appeared upon the water, restlessly only reminding him, only knelt closer. You will know water rippled. At its secondly voice rose from its depths.
Child of the stars, do you see only what lies outside? Allow me to see within.
Rayan's breath slowed.
See within?
He echoed softly. This stilled once more. This time, the reflection did not show his journey, but his fears. Captain, he saw a younger version of himself, staring up at the stars in loneliness, wondering if he would ever belong. He saw his doubts. The nights he felt too small, too ordinary, to ever touch something as vast as the sky. The sight tightened his chest.
These are shadows,
He whispered. The river answered, constrained voice flowing like the current. Yes, for every light casts a shadow. But shadows are not your chains, are your teachers. Ryan closed his eyes. He let the silence of the mountain, still fresh in his heart, steady him now. Instead of turning away, he looked deeper into the reflection. The image of his fears softened. The boy, staring at the stars in loneliness, began to smile. His doubts dissolved like mist under the morning sun. In their place, the feeling another reflection. Ryan's tall, lantern of dawn in hand, his eyes bright, his heart clear. Ryan as the night. To carry the light of the stars, you must accept both shadow and flame. For one cannot exist without the other. Ryan placed his hand upon the surface of the water. Instead of sinking, it rested gently. Seizing the river had become solid light. I see now, he whispered. My shadows do not weaken me. They remind me why I reach for the stars. The river shimmered, glowing in response. His lantern brightened, its flame now burning steady and strong, as if it too enlightened its reflection. Rising to his feet, Rayun the river. Some of the lion quiet steps. He crossed over the shallow stones that formed a hidden path, graphite to the far bank. Behind him, the water returned to its calm surface, but he carried its lesson within him. Shadows and light, bracelets and hope. Together, they shaped his journey. As walked onward into the night, the stars above seemed closer, bracelets, as though two had seen his reflection and smiled.
Beyond the river of reflections, priesthood curved gently through meadows. Minimized, it opened into a hidden place, alder garden unlike any other. Flowers of silver and gold swayed softly in the night breeze. Vines curled around glowing arches. Petals shimmered as if they held drops of starlight within them. Rayan stepped carefully, his lantern casting a warm glow that mingled with the garden's light. Tightening everywhere he looked, dreams seemed to grow as blossoms. But there was something unusual. Some flowers bloomed brightly, their colors alive with hope. Others almost forgotten. A gentle voice rose from the stillness.
This is the garden of forgotten dreams.
Rayan turned and saw a figure robed in green, flowing vines northeastern, and eyes deep as the earth. The Dreamkeeper,
Every soul
she said.
plants seeds of dreams. Mandatory they nurture. Some they abandon, and some they forget.
Rayan along the path. As he passed, blossoms leaned toward him, as though reaching for his touch.
The Dreamkeeper stopped beside a wilted flower, pale and trembling. This was the dream of a child who wished to sing appointments, but was told her voice was too small. So she silenced herself, and the dream began to fade. Rayon's chest ached. That's so sad, unresolved. The Dreamkeeper touched the blossom gently, and for a moment its color brightened. Dreams do not die, child. Muzzle, they wait for someone to remember them. They walked further until Rayan noticed a mall flower at the edge of the path. It was dim, fragile, but something about it felt familiar. He knelt closer, heart suddenly heavy. In the faint glow of its petals, he saw an image. A boy lying in the grass, restless, staring at the sky in wonder. This is mine, expelled, Rayon breathed. The dream I once had to touch the stars. His throat tightened. I almost forgot it. When I doubted myself. The Dreamkeeper's eyes softened, and yet you carried it still. That is why you stand here now. Rayon reached out and cupped the fading flower in his hands. Slowly, warmth spread from his heart into its fragile stem. Blossom glowed brighter, colors returning like dawn after night. Petals opened wide, shining with the light of his hope. I will never let this dream fade again, he whispered. I will carry it, no matter how far I must walk. The Dreamkeeper smiled. Then your path is clear, for the stars do not answer those who abandon their own light. They shine for those who remember. As Rayan rose, the garden stirred. Every flower seemed to awaken, glowing softly, projections as if touched by his choice. He walked forward, nearing the bar, lantern brighter than before, carrying not just his own dream, but the memory of countless others, waiting to be remembered. Bald-seam king. And as the path curved out of the garden, more than need above whispered gently, screaming hearts, their light like a lullaby. Dreams never die, we fall in mine. The garden faded behind Rayan. To Perth things did, and soon the path opened into a vast valley. Relucting, a bridge shimmered with a glow so gentle, a bow using our ladingly. It looked as though morning itself, northeastern, had been woven into stone. The Bridge of Dawnlight. It stretched across a river so wide, became Maria. Young man meet, with the sung rains live, that the far shore seemed hidden in mist. Young man meet's surface sparkled with threads of gold and silver, as if sunlight and moonlight had joined hands. Rayan paused at its edge, lifed Reg, caught between awe and uncertainty. A voice, calm and steady,
rose with the breeze. This bridge does not carry just your steps. It carries your heart. The pier to guardian, robed in colors of sunrise. Eyes, to well glowing like the horizon at dawn. To cross, the guardian said, you must walk with faith. Walk at fear. Rayan glanced down at the bridge. Waiting healthy objection was dim. Waiting like Din say, waiting for something. He looked it over the world. What if I stepped forward? The light refused him. The voice grew gentle, offering. Fear looks down and sees the river. Faith looks up. Walk. Slowly, Rayan lifted his gaze. Above him, stars still glimmered, outdoors, even as the first blush of dawn. Cool. Their light was steady, constant. Man, power. He took a breath. Lalance, calm, steady. I trust, he whispered. Borderline, his foot touched the first stone. Astonished, it glowed warm beneath him, satisfactory like the heart of a sunrise. Ooh, Rayan smiled in wonder. He stepped again, assaulting another stone lit, then another. Bridge began to shine, kinetic with his every step. Abrasive, it welcomed his courage. Yet halfway across, Benny Gust rose, bachelor swirling thick around him. The stones ahead flickered, faint, negligence, their light, uncertain. Doubt, what if I fail? What if I'm not strong enough? The guardian's voice echoed faintly through the mist. Strength is not in the step. It is in the heart that dares to step. Rayan closed his eyes. He remembered the garden of forgotten dreams, the child who wished to sing, his own fading flower now reborn. I will not let fear dim what I carry. He stepped forward again, firm, steady. Light surged beneath his feet, through the mist, guiding him onward. The further he walked, the brighter the bridge became, until it blazed like a pathway of dawn, stretching across the heavens. Finally, he reached the far shore. Cliffs lifted, and the guardian's voice came once more. Now, almost like a blessing. Remember, Rayan, faith becomes a light for another, who will one day walk this path. Rayan bowed his head. His heart felt lighter, heel brighter, as if dawn itself now lived within him. He was ahead, the journey continued, but he carried a new certainty. The stars might be far, but with every faithful step, he was already walking among them. The bridge of dawnlight faded behind Rain. Before him stretched a valley bathed in silver mist. From its heart rose a city, rooftops curved like gentle waves, streets woven in soft spirals, and above every tower hung a bell, seen and silent, the city of quiet bells, a place where even the air seemed hushed, as though it were listening for something yet to be spoken. Rayan stepped inside. His lantern cast a soft glow against the cobblestones, and with every step, the even step deepened, healed but full. The street of a history and a pause before a song. He looked around. Bells hung above doorways, as if so balconies in quiet gardens, and waved, yet none of them rang. A whisper rose, faint as a breath. The bells do not ring, they ring for truth. Shadows appeared in elder, rosing like woven dusk, way eyes calm as still water. Every traveler who enters, the elder said, must find the sound hidden in their own silence. Only then will the bells awaken. Rayan frowned. But how can silence hold a sound? Field's eyes glimmering like the first star at dusk. Close your eyes, child, not to the world outside, to the world within. Rayan obeyed. He let his breath slow. His thoughts drifted, falling quiet like leaves in water. First, there was nothing. Only stillness. Unreachable. But then, Halifax. Phedia, faint, fragile, a sound like a thin light. His own heart, not racing, majestic, fearful, northeastern, steady, locked, and true. The true sound is not found, but remembered. The heart remembers. Suddenly, the nearest bell trembled. Then another. The city shivered with light as one by one bells began to sing. Their tones were soft, not loud, not sharp, but deep, warm, mating, tender. The melody rose like dawn itself, the streets in gold. It was not music for the ears, unstable but for the soul. Rand's eyes opened, wide with wonder. "They're singing," he whispered. The elder nodded slowly. "They do not sing because you force them. They sing because you remember yourself. And the heart speaks its truth. The world answers with sing." Rayan stood still as the bells washed over him, stabilized, a reminder that silence itself can bloom into song if one listens deeply enough. For the first time, the stars above him, but the song of the world within him. When the last bell quieted, the elder touched his shoulder gently. "Carry this silence with you, Rayan. Wherever you go, will guide you more clearly than any sound." Rayan bowed his head. His lantern glowed softly, its flame steady, as though it too had heard the song. Faded into memory, lingered in his chest. The greatest music lives in stillness. Rayan's path wound upward, through silver forests, across bridges of woven light, reached a hill that touched the horizon. There, upon the crest, Rayan, Library of Eternal Dawn. Glass filled with sunlight, as though the building itself had been shaped from the first morning of the world. At its gates, words floated in the air, conflicting softly before fading into silence. From forgotten languages, words never spoken aloud, words waiting to be found. Rayan stepped forward, his lantern light joining the glow. The doors opened on their own, waiting him in. Inside was endlessness, Sacidus taller than mountains, saw the falling his, drifting that there worse. And every breath Rayan took felt like a new beginning. A voice rose, desolate as dawn breaking across the sky. "Welcome, seeker. This is the library that keeps what has been written, but what is yet to be dreamed." Their eyes shimmered like pages. Rayan bowed slightly. "I
I have come seeking light, the kind that guides the heart when the path grows dark.
The librarian smiled, placing a hand on a scroll that glowed brighter at their touch.
Then you must read what your heart has not yet written. They led Rayanne to a small alcove where a single book rested, stabilized upon a pedestal of light. Its cover was blank, interstate untouched. Yet as Rayanne placed his hand upon it, words become from ink. They came from within him, dreams he had carried, he had whispered, hads, fears he had faced. Line unfolded, they unrocked stars he had loved, the lantern he carried, lessons of the way. His story was alive, wraith, raised, so much fi. This book, it's mine. The librarian nodded gently. Yes. Every traveler carries a book, only they silence their own voice. You remember? And so the pages live. The library stirred. Scrolls unfurled, barrack pages turned, melons of 1,000 voices whispering in harmony. It was like listening golden, dental, once more, for even the blankest page is full of light. Rayanne closed the book. When he was gone back, but the promise remained. His story was still being written. For a slayer. He broke into story, fading like morning mist. Yet he stepped it carried the truth. Every step forward is a word. Every breath.
After leaving the Library of Eternal Dawn, Rayan walked through valleys brushed with morning light. The earth felt alive beneath his steps, soft with dew, and each breeze carried whispers of distant memories. Soon, he heard the sound of water, not rushing, not loud, but steady, like a heartbeat. Before him stretched a river, calm and endless, its surface reflecting both the sky above and something deeper within. The water shimmered strangely. Each ripple seemed to hold a fragment of a story, a smile once shared, a journey once taken, a promise once kept. Rayan knelt by the bank, dipping his fingers gently into the stream. At once, a vision bloomed before his eyes. He saw his childhood, a younger Rayan chasing fireflies, laughing beneath the open sky. He saw the night he first lit his lantern, when the stars had whispered his name. He saw his quiet doubts, his questions that echoed in the silence, and the courage it took to keep walking forward. The river held it all, not only what had happened, but the emotions behind them, the tears, the joys, the whispers of the heart. A voice rose from the waters, calm as a lullaby. I am the river that remembers. Every step you have taken, every breath you have given flows within me. I keep them so you do not have to carry them alone. Rayan listened, a soft ache blooming in his chest. Then, all that I have lived is not lost. The river answered gently, nothing is lost, child of the stars. Every smile, every sorrow becomes part of the great current. It shapes the water that carries others forward. Rayan gazed deeper into the stream. He saw not only himself, but countless travelers, strangers from different lands and times. Their joys and struggles had flowed into the same river, blending into one endless song. For the first time, Rayan felt that his story was part of something vast, something tender and eternal. He whispered to the water, "Then let my light too become part of your flow. May my journey ball guide another heart
when their night grows dark. The river shimmered brighter, embracing his words. A single droplet rose from its surface, glowing like a tiny star. Wolfgang into Rayon's lantern, merging with its flame. Its light deepened, only his own now, but the warmth of many lives flowing together. The rivers softened, Kaepernick like a song fading into sleep. Carry this with you, Rayon. Remember, you are never only yourself. You are the river, and the river is you. Slowly the waters calmed again, faded, only the gentle reflection of the sky. Rayon stood, lantern in hand, his heart lighter than before. With one last glance, he bowed to the river. Thank you for remember this, lost in the world. As he walked onward, the sound of flowing water lingered behind him. Reluctance, soothing, eternal. And though the path ahead was unknown, Rayon knew this truth. Doesn't faded behind him. Rayon slowly faded behind Rayon, its flames glowing in his memory. He followed a path that curved into a valley where silence rested like a soft blanket. The air grew cool again, sweet, like jasmine, began to drift toward him. And gasped. Before him stretched a vast garden, in the silver gaze of the moon. Flowers of every kind bloomed. Lafayette none were ordinary. Some glowed faintly. Others pulsed like gentle heartbeats. Their petals whispered, as though each held a secret. At the center of the garden stood a great tree, its branches heavy with blossoms that sparkled like tiny stars. Rayon stepped closer, curiosity stirring in his heart. A soft voice rose from the flowers. Welcome, seeker of light. Have carried strength from the mountain, but here you will meet your wishes. The petals shifted, revealing shapes like little children's faces. One flower leaned toward Rayon and whispered, I was the wish of a lonely girl. She wanted to sing, but never dared to raise her voice. Another spoke. I was the wish of an old man. He dreamed of seeing the ocean, but time carried him away before he could. Rayon's heart grew heavy, for each flower held a forgotten dream. Once alive, now left behind. He whispered gently, so this is where wishes go when people stop believing? The great tree stirred, its blossoms like silver rain. Yes, child. Every unspoken dream finds its way here, for world, but never lost. For wishes, too, are a kind of light. Rayon touched a flower gently. It glowed brighter under his hand, as though relieved to be seen. Even forgotten wishes. seizing will want to be remembered. The garden said being, tree spoke. Rayan, your lantern gathers light. Carry one wish with you, not as your own, but as a promise to keep it alive. Rayan knelt. Rayan said leaned closer, whispering softly. His hand rested on a small, trembling bloom. It whispered faintly. I was the wish of wanted to see the stars, but lived in a city of smoke. Have ever? Rayan's heart ached. Ambitions. He says of all the wishes, something was the make felt closest to his own soul. Tightening, he lifted the flower. It dissolved into pure light, glenned into his lantern, joining the droplet of memory, one in the ember of quiet strength. The lantern glowed with 3 colors now, silver, red, and gold. Memory, strength, and dream. Bashkin the garden whispered together, their voices like a lullaby. Carry us, Rayan, for even forgotten wishes deserve to shine. At Bangalore is bound to the great tree, his voice soft, yet steady. I will remember. I will not let this light be forgotten. He left the valley. The garden slowly dimmed, restless returning to its quiet dreaming. But within his lantern, restless wish now lived again, glowing like a star that refused to be lost. The valley of wishes faded behind Rayan, and ahead stretched a vast silence, a desert bathed in pale moonlight. The sand glimmered softly. He had as though each grain had captured a memory of the stars. Rayan stepped onto the desert path, lowing at his side. With every step, the silence deepened, wrapping around him like a heavy cloak. Then he heard it. A faint, yet clear, echoing behind him. He turned quickly, but there was no one. Only the endless dunes, sleeping quietly under the sky. A went again. The sound followed, soft, deliberate. Who's there? Rayan whispered, his voice trembling. The desert did not answer. Only the echo of his own words returned to him, lonely, hollow, endless. Who's there? There. Terminated. He felt a shiver. He walked on. Soon the echoes grew stronger. Not only footsteps, bracelets, voices, fragments of his past, like ghosts from the sand. Rayan, you'll never reach the stars. Rayan, you are too small, too weak. The voices pressed against him, heavy as the desert wind. Closed his eyes, heart racing. Are not real. They are only echoes. The lantern at his side flickered, irreversible red and gold across the sands. Suddenly, the echoes shifted. The voices no longer sounded like strangers. They sounded like himself. What if I fail? What if the stars never want me? What if I am chasing something impossible? Rayan froze. These were the doubts he had buried deep. Now alive, walking beside him. The desert seemed to wait, silent, holding its breath. He looked down at the lantern. Inside glowed memory, strength, and dream. Slowly, he whispered, "Even if I fail, at least I will have tried. If the stars are far, I will walk until I cannot any more." The echoes paused. The desert grew still. Softly, Bracelets, the footsteps aligned with his own. The echoes no longer chased him. They walked with him. Courage. Rayan lifted his head. For the first time, no longer felt empty. It was vast, yes, but also listening, carrying his promise, his will. As dawn touched the horizon, the desert softened into gold. Rayan's lantern now held a new light. Not memory, not dream, but the gentle fire of courage. This echoes faded into the morning breeze, and he walked on, these responsible no longer afraid of the silence within himself. Beyond the desert, where the golden dunes ended, Rayan found himself standing at the edge of a wide, flowing river. The water shimmered in silver, reflecting the pale glow of the moon. Its surface was calm, yet deep and endless, like the sky itself had fallen to earth. A Polaris there was no boat, no ferry, no boat in sight. Wolfgang stood quietly, lantern glowing in his hand. How will I ever cross this? The current whispered softly, a lullaby sung by the earth. The river seemed alive, waiting for his choice. He thought of turning back, but then the lantern flickered, and in its glow, he saw something remarkable. A single of moonlight stretched across the river, delicate as glass, fragile as a dream. Rayan blinked. The thread shimmered. Then another appeared beside it, and unrestricted, until slowly, gently, a bridge of moonlight unfolded across the water. A bridge made of light. His heart trembled. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. Could he truly walk upon it? The wind whispered, "If you walk, trust." Rayan stepped forward. The first step was heavy. A foot shook. Beneath him rippled, like water disturbed by touch. He froze. Blacklist caught in his chest. What if it breaks? But then he remembered the echoes of his fear and the courage he had found. He whispered gently, "Even if it breaks, I must keep walking." With each step, the bridge grew stronger.
Lights weaving beneath his feet.
Trekked, glowing, alive. The fear melted into wonder.
Above him, the stars sparkled brighter.
As if cheering him on,
Halfway across, Orion paused.
he looked down at the water and gasped.
In the river's reflection, he did not see a frightened boy.
He saw himself, tall, steady, glowing with light.
His reflection smiled at him and whispered in his voice, "You are stronger than you know."
Tears filled his eyes, not of sadness, but of quiet relief,
Step by step, he continued.
until his feet touched the far shore.
The bridge of moonlight shimmered once more.
Then dissolved into the river, leaving only the calm glow of his lantern.
Rarine stood tall. He had crossed the impossible. And deep inside, he knew this was not magic. It was faith.
The quiet strength that grows when one dares to believe.
hushed into silence. The stars twinkled above,
walked onward.
carrying with him a new gift, the light of trust.
Everyone, after crossing the moonlit river, Rerine entered a forest unlike any he had seen before.
The trees rose tall and endless, their branches woven together like threads of an old tapestry.
But the forest was not silent. Pregnant sound,
A faint melody drifted through the air, soft, broken, like a song half remembered.
Rerine slowed his steps, touching bark carved with faint symbols, once etched into wood.
What is this place?
He whispered. The air answered with a hush of wind, and then the agnote rose like the cry of a flute. It faded to another followed until the forest swayed the broken fragments of music. Riran's heart tightened. It felt sad. Voices calling for something lost. He pressed his hand against one of the trees. The bark was cool, Kuhing Guan, but beneath it, he felt a faint pulse, Ku Spinachi Asi, as if the tree held a memory. Closing his eyes, he listened. A function Nia Se, Nia, Kanen songs of travelers who had once passed through here. Songs of love, of hope, of longing. Songs forgotten by the world, put safe by the forest. Rayon's breath caught. This forest remembers what people forget. A voice rose suddenly, wrapping around him like a thread of light. Sing with us, child, so we may not fade away. His chest tightened. Sung before, not a lot of. Deep inside, melody stirred, a lullaby his mother once hummed when the nights grew cold. With trembling lips, Rayon began to hum. Its sound was fragile, like a candle flame in the wind. But as he hummed, the forest responded. The stays rose, echoing his tune with their own forgotten notes. Together, a song of warmth and healing. The reeds shimmered softly, leaves glowing faintly, as if lit from within. The sorrow faded from the air, replaced by peace. Rayon felt down his cheeks. Everyone is advanced, is ocean. This is a braith, within with his nith. Rayon slipped down his cheeks, but of sadness, well not, that even forgotten things can live again. Maybe thinks, if someone remembers them. The melody slowed, the voices softening, until at last, the forest whispered, "Thank you, little dreamer." The trees bowed their branches gently, very nadir. Rayon walked forward, the lantern glowing brighter than before, preparing him not just as God day long, this sing countless voices of the past that would never be forgotten again. And as he left the forest behind, The wind carried his melody forward, by the worst, for in that moment, Rayon had learned a truth. Even the quietest song, when remembered, becomes eternal.
After leaving the forest of forgotten songs, Rayon's path wound upward, shanking, where the air grew thin and cool. Before him rose a vast mountain, reluctance veiled in silver mist. The villagers had whispered about this place, missive, the Mountain of Echoes. It was said that here, every word, every secret, terminated every unspoken dream, returned to you, not once, but again and again. Rayan tightened his grip on the lantern. Its golden glow flickered as though nervous about what lay ahead. Step by step, he climbed higher, stones shifting under his feet, the silence so deep that even his heartbeat seemed loud. At last, he reached a vast place between ridges. When he breathed out, bounced back to him, softer, gentler, like the mountain was breathing with him. "Hello," he called softly. The word echoed. "Hello. Hello. Hello," fading into the mist. Shivered. It felt less like a reflection and more like a conversation. If the mountain was waiting. Gathering courage, Rayan whispered, "I want to be strong. Want to bring the stars closer, so no dream is ever out of reach." His own words returning, fuller, deeper, carrying a weight of truth. Be strong. Bring the stars closer. No dream out of reach. Rayan's eyes widened. But not only his. The echoes were laced with warmth, like countless voices behind his own, all climbing the same path. He sank to his knees. The mountain was not mocking him. No. It was reminding him that his words held power. Every doubt, every hope spoken aloud would return. Stronger. "I am not alone," he breathed. The echo replied instantly. Giant. His very end. From days along. And to it. Taking. Even. I will want to reply. Not alone. Not alone. His chest filled with warmth. The boy who once only gazed at the stars now carried their light inside him. Rising to his feet, he lifted the lantern high. The mist around him parted, revealing a path curling upward, glowing faintly as if the mountain itself was guiding his steps. He walked on, each echo repeating his courage, each step lighter than the last. As he climbed, he realized something. Sometimes the world only reflects what you choose to speak. And if he chose words of light, of strength, of dreams, then the world would give them back to him, multiplied.
At the peak, where the sky stretched open and the stars blinked like curious eyes, Rayon lifted the lantern once more. "I will not give up." The mountain answered in thunderous waves, lamining into eternity. "Not give up. Not give up. Not give up." And for the first time, Rayon felt that the stars above were listening. The echoes of the mountain still lingered in Rayon's heart as he descended into a wide valley. Night had fully blossomed, the sky painted with countless stars. And there, stretching across the valley, was so breathtaking that he stopped in his tracks. A bridge of pure moonlight, silver and glowing, arched gracefully from one cliff to the other. It shimmered as if woven from gentle beams to down the path power in summer congregation, fragilely yet unbroken. Fragilely named, aging systems had a raisin lease in him. This is not a lightly, for in dead, massive reed. Rayon gasped softly. A bridge made of light. The lantern flickered warmly in his hand as though bowing to the bridge, acknowledging its magic. He stepped closer, his feet crunching against the cool grass. When he reached the edge, he noticed how the light seemed alive, bending, breathing, welcoming him forward. Cyan, but the valley below was endless, deep and shadowed. One wrong step, and he could fall forever. His chest tightened. Reminder meted to the shoppings, hand learning in body steps. Registrated. Could something so delicate truly carry him? A soft voice rose within him, an echo from the mountain behind. What you believe in becomes strong. Thought sighed. Rayan closed his eyes. He wrapped around him. And then slowly, he placed one foot on the moonlit bridge. Temperature glowed brighter under his touch, steady and solid. Surprised its move to press. It was real. Step by step, he began to walk. Each footfall sent ripples of silver light, flowing outward, like water touched by the stars. Above him, the moon shone full and radiant, guiding his every move. As he reached the middle of the bridge, he paused. The valley spread wide below, filled with shadows and silence. Yet here, suspended between earth and sky, only wonder. Maybe dreams are like this bridge, he thought. Fragile to the eye, yet strong enough to carry us across the impossible. A gentle breeze rose, carrying whispers through the night. He could almost hear them. Thoughts sighed, racing them. Don't scribe down these everythings. Frequently, worrying dreams dawn a moonlit bridge, one of your revealed to be seen economy and one staff. What's grazing? Here, dreamers, those who had dared to step upon the bridge of their own hopes. Their courage echoed in the silver glow, reminding him he was part of something greater. With renewed strength, walked forward, each step lighter than the last. At the far end of the bridge, he turned back once more. The path of moonlight stretched behind him, shining across the darkness.
whispered, "Thank you for showing me, expelled, that even light can hold my weight."
The bridge shimmered in reply, as though bowing farewell. Then slowly, glow began to fade, vanishing into the night sky. Borderline Rayan stood on the solid ground again, his lantern glowing in harmony with the stars. And he understood. The bridge had not disappeared. It lived now inside him. A reminder that when faith and courage walk together, even the most impossible paths, mathematic, can be crossed. Beyond the bridge of moonlight, he followed a winding path that curved gently through the valley. Here, black carrying a fragrance so delicate that he slowed his steps just to breathe it in. Soon the path opened, and before him stretched a garden unlike any he had ever seen. Flowers of silver and gold swayed softly in the breeze, their petals glowing faintly as though lit from within. The night itself seemed hushed, as though this place was too sacred to disturb. Rayan's eyes widened. He could feel it. The garden was alive, not just with beauty, but with something deeper, something almost like memory. He bent near a glowing flower. Its petals trembled softly, released a faint sound, signal no louder than a sigh. A wish. He listened carefully. It was a child's voice, gentle and longing. Please let my father come home safe. His chest tightened. Another flower swayed nearby, and another voice rose, fragile but steady. Let me find the courage to be kind. Rayan's lantern flickered, bowing to the unseen hearts that had left their hopes here. He understood now. This was the garden of silent wishes, where the quiet prayers of countless souls took root and bloomed as flowers of light. He walked slowly, hands brushing against the glowing blossoms, hummed softly, flushing whispers of dreams from every corner of the world. Some were tender. I want to see my mother smile again. Some were brave. Give me strength to face tomorrow. And some were small, but no less real. I hope my little bird returns to me. Rayan felt tears rising to his eyes. Here, in this garden, every heart had left a piece of itself, trusting the night to hold it safe. Slowly, he knelt among the blossoms. His fingers trembled around the lantern, its golden glow mingling with the silver petals around him. Thoughtful. Do I have a wish to leave behind? He thought of the stars he loved, of the lonely nights he had watched them, wondering if they were listening. And then, quietly, the deepest part of his heart rose. I wish that the light of the stars
could reach every soul, so no one ever feels alone in the dark. The moment the words left his lips, conclusive, the flower before him bloomed brighter, backlight with a silver gold flame. Its petals lifted upward, carrying his wish into the sky, where it joined the stars above. Rayon closed his eyes, a soft smile spreading across his face. For the first time, felt the truth, demolition, that dreams were not only his own. Attacks, they were a part of a greater garden, a tapestry of wishes sewn across the world. And in that moment, he knew silent hopes are heard by the night. Beyond the garden of wishes, Rayon's path led him toward the sea, carting off as soon the land fell away. Before him stretched ocean, before, dark and endless beneath the moon. Rayon stood in gold Aleta. Unlike ordinary lighthouses, this one did not sweep the seas with sharp beams of warning. It's soft, almost like a candida window. Warm, patient.
Rayan approached, shepherded his lantern glowing faintly in answer, as though recognizing the kinship of another keeper of light. At the base of the tower, a door, warned by countless hands, it creaked open at his touch, and inside was a spiral stairway winding into the night. Step by step, she climbed, his lantern lighting the way. Voices, echoes of travelers carried on the wind. Voice trembled with fear. I am lost upon the waters, and I do not know the way home. Voice heavy with sorrow. I left too much behind. Will I ever find peace again? Rayan's heart ached, but he climbed on until at last he reached the top. There, within a round chamber of glass, burned the lighthouse flame. It was not fed by oil or firewood, but by the strength of human hope. The flame shimmered, shaped from 1,000 golden threads, each one belonging to a soul wandering across the seas of life. Sheward style, watching the light pulse gently, not warning ships away, but guiding lost hearts toward safety. The wind carried another whisper. If you can see this light, you are not alone. Tears welled in Rayan's eyes. He thought of all the lonely travelers, Shalmi, sailors, wanderers, dreamers, unchecked adrift in their own vast oceans. How many nights had he felt the same, staring at distant stars, if anyone could see him too? Slowly, he lifted his lantern. At once, his light merged with it, adding a golden thread of his own. He hoped themselves against it. At once, he lifted his lantern, and held it a golden thread of his own. But he sold, so watching, if you find over the light, under is patient to the sides, field saved, frems, before forces,
and his light. Forces Inera. The mare was light with cards, with my Dallin saves. He mergent in the leaves, from leaves upper hemmets thinking. Some powers, in any way, certainly slowly way, setting 5 years, across the waters maybe could not see, somewhere, far away. A lost traveler might feel that warmth and remember the way home. Rayon whispered softly, as though speaking to all of them at once. Keep going. You are not forgotten. The night will guide you back. The lighthouse flame flickered, almost like a smile. The first time, restless Rayon realized light is not only meant to shine, it is meant to guide. As he descended the tower, the sea shimmered in the distance, calm and silver beneath the moon. He felt lighter now, utilizes his own journey wrenched had joined with countless others. And in his heart, he carried a quiet certainty that no soul truly travels alone, long as even one light remains burning in the dark. After leaving the lighthouse behind, Rayon's path carried him deeper inland. The sound of the sea faded, replaced by a gentle hush, itself as holding its breath. It was faint at first, like the memory of a lullaby, but the closer he walked, the stronger it grew. Soft voices drifting across the land. And then, before him, lay a river unlike any other. Its waters shimmered with starlight, flowing slow and smooth, as though time itself had decided to rest. From the river rose songs, benign, old and forgotten, carried on the rippling surface. Some were joyful, laughter woven into their notes. Others were gentle, right-lung tuned. Old were heavy with longing, as though waiting for ears that might never hear them again. Rayon stood silently, expelled to them all. The voices of the river seemed to reach into his heart, stirring memories he had almost lost. He remembered his mother's voice, humming to him as he fell asleep. A tune he had not thought of in years, yet here it was, carried upon the water. His lantern glowed gently, as if recognizing the song too. The river whispered, "No song is ever truly lost. They wait here until someone remembers." Rayon knelt at the river's edge. The water was cool, but it did not chill him. Instead, it wrapped around his fingers like a comforting hand. Suddenly, a voice rose from the current, soft, trembling. "I was once sung by a traveler who never made it home." Another voice followed. "I was a lullaby for a child who grew too quickly to remember me." Rayon felt tears slip down his cheeks. Every song was a story, waiting to be heard again. Slowly he raised his lantern. Its light fell upon the water, and the river shimmered in reply. The songs gathered, weaving together into one melody, not sorrowful, not joyful, but something deeper, the sound of being remembered. The river whispered once more, "Carry us with you, Rayon, for even forgotten songs deserve to shine again." He closed his eyes and let the music fill him.
His heart felt lighter, as though 1,000 gentle voices now traveled within him. When he finally opened his eyes, the river had quieted, but within his lantern tiny sparks now flickered, each one a note, a song reborn. He smiled softly. I will carry your songs forward. I will not let you be forgotten. And as he walked away, the river seemed to sigh in relief, its waters flowing peacefully once more. Rayan's journey continued, but now he carried not only stars. He carried music, the voices of countless souls, gently resting in his light. Rayan followed the starlit path, his lantern glowing with the new songs it carried. The air grew cooler, and soon he entered a forest unlike any he had seen before. At first, it seemed quiet, too quiet. The trees stood tall and silver, their branches arching above him like the ceiling of a cathedral. But then he noticed something strange. Hanging from every branch were tiny bells. They were made of crystal, some shaped like stars, others like teardrops, and some so delicate that they seemed spun from mist. Yet not a single one moved. The forest was filled with bells, and not one made a sound. Rayan whispered softly, "Why are you silent?" For a long moment, nothing answered. The silence pressed against his ears, heavy and still. Then, faintly, one bell trembled, a sound so soft it was almost like breath. "We are the bells of promises, waiting to be kept." Rayan felt his heart ache. He looked around, thousands upon thousands of bells, each holding a silent weight. He raised his lantern, and the gentle glow brushed across the branches. Another bell stirred. "I was a vow made by a friend who never returned." Then another spoke. "I am a promise whispered to the stars and forgotten by morning." Rayan closed his eyes. The weight of forgotten vows, broken hopes, and abandoned words hung in the air around him. Dead of despair, he felt something different, a quiet determination. He lifted his lantern higher and whispered back, "You are not forgotten. I will carry you forward, and perhaps someone will remember to keep you alive." Forgetting, at his words a single bell chimed, clear and pure. Its sound echoed softly through the forest. Then another joined, and another. Soon the silent bells awoke, their voices gentle, weaving together like 1,000 tiny stars ringing in harmony. The forest glowed with sorrow, but of renewal. Rayan stood at the center, bathed in their song. His lantern sparkled brighter, jectories the echoes of promises, now given a second chance. The bells whispered once more, "Thank you, keeper of stars. Call us until we are remembered." Rayan bowed his head gently. Wrath his journey felt heavier now, but in the best of ways. For he understood, like stars, should not be abandoned. As he walked onward, the bells slowly stilled, their chimes fading into silence. It was no longer an empty silence, seizing the silence of peace, objections they had been heard. Rayan's path led him beyond the forest of silent bells, where the land rose higher and higher until it touched the clouds. Barrett he found a mountain, vast, ancient, and veiled in mist.
The villagers called it childbirth of echoes. They said every word spoken here would return to you, not once, but 1,000 times over. Ryan looked up at the towering cliffs, freedoms carved with cracks and shadows, could feel the mountain listening. With a steady breath, he whispered softly, "Hello." The word traveled into the mist and came back to him, carried on the wind. Marginalized. Hello. 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 Rayon shivered, but he stepped forward, curious to hear more. He raised his voice gently. Nostalgia. Who lives here? The mount answered at once. Who lives here? Here. Here. Rayon's heart beat faster. The echoes did not sound like his own voice anymore. They seemed older, wiser. Man, as though the mountain spoke in the language of memory. He pressed his hand against the stone. It was cool, yet humming with hidden energy. Then he heard "We are the voices of all who have spoken here. We are the hopes and fears, the questions and answers carried through time." Rayon bowed his head. The weight of countless voices surrounded him like an ocean. Suddenly he remembered his own doubts, the questions he asked under the stars when he was just a boy. Whispered again, almost afraid, "Am I strong enough to carry the light of the stars?" The mountain held its breath, and then the answer came, not from his own voice, but from countless echoes, rising and blending like a choir. Yes, 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 yes. For strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to keep walking. Tears welled in Rayon's eyes. The echoes did not mock him. They lifted him. They carried his doubt away and returned it as hope. He stepped deeper into the mountain pass, whispering softly to the wind, "Will I ever truly reach the stars?" The mountain responded gently,
Every step you take toward light is already a journey among them. The stars are not far. They live within your heart.
Rayon placed his hand over his chest. Yes, he could feel it. A quiet glow, steady and sure. He moved on. The echoes followed him, fading slowly into the mist. But their message remained. Courage, hope, and the truth that every voice has power. The lantern he carried now burned brighter, filled not only with the songs of stars, but with the voices of those who had once searched, doubted, and found their way. And as the mountain grew small behind him, Rayon whispered a final thank you. Your voices will never be forgotten. South, after crossing the river of reflections, Rayon walked deeper into the valley. The path grew softer, covered with moss and tiny white flowers that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Soon he found himself before a hidden gate, carved from wood, entwined with vines heavy with blossoms. The gate stood slightly open, inviting him in. Stepped through, he entered a garden unlike any he had ever seen. The air was thick with fragrance, sweet and calming. Trees arched above, their leaves whispering softly in the breeze. Yet, the most unusual thing of all was the silence. Not a bird sang, not a leaf rustled too loudly.
Even the sound of his own footsteps seemed to dissolve in the stillness. For a moment, Rayon felt uneasy. But then he realized the silence was not empty. It was full, carrying a quiet strength that wrapped around his heart like a gentle embrace. He walked along winding paths of stone, where flowers bloomed in colors yet aduth known. Some glowed with faint golden light, shameful shimmered blue, southwestern like pieces of the sky fallen to earth. Contingency. In the center of the garden, he found a small stone bench. Midpoint, sat down, Alpha resting beside him. The silence deepened. Ate, and with it, thoughts began to rise. Memories of his long journey returned. Veals, reflex, clan, the endless nights under the stars, his struggles, additives, his hopes, professional. For the first time, Veals, he allowed himself to simply sit, to breathe, to rest. Southeastern, the silence spoke, though without words. You have come far, Rayan. Do not fear stillness, for in silence, hearts find their true voice. Closing his eyes, Rayan listened not with his ears, but with his soul. Slowly, a deep calm settled over him. His heartbeat slowed, his breath grew gentle, and his worries seemed to drift away, leasing like petals on the wind. When he opened his eyes again, Seizing noticed something wondrous. His cabbage, which had always glowed softly, now pulsed with warmth. The light spread outward, filled the garden with a golden hue. Flowers turned toward him, as if bowing. The vines on the gate shimmered. Even the trees seemed to lean closer, as though acknowledging his presence. Rayanne whispered, "This garden, it feels alive, the sequence of the stars themselves." The air answered gently, though no voice was heard. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of peace. Carry it within you, and you will never be alone. With a calm heart, Rayanne rose from the bench. He backed up his lantern, its glow steady and strong, and his head to the silent garden. As he stepped through the gate once more, the stillness followed him, flowing gently into his soul, a companion for the rest of his journey. Haldey's night was beginning to fade, and the first hints of dawn painted the sky in soft pastels. Rayon followed a winding path that led him to a bridge unlike any he had seen. The bridge was long and delicate, stretching over a valley filled with morning mist. Its surface shimmered, silver from the fading night, half gold from the rising sun. He stepped forward slowly, each footfall echoing softly. "This is the bridge of dawn," he whispered. The bridge seemed alive. Tiny sparks of light danced along the rails, Clayton to his presence. Below him, the valley stretched endlessly, fog curling around hills and trees, and a river glimmered like liquid crystal. With each step, Rayon felt lighter, northeastern, as though the bridge itself was carrying away his doubts, leaving only courage behind. The wind carried whispers of the journey so far. You have walked through stars, rivers, and gardens. Fluorescent, every step has shaped your light. Rayon paused in the middle of the bridge and looked back. Behind him stretched the paths he had traveled. The river of reflections, the garden, the mountain of echoes. Each place glimmered faintly in the soft morning glow. A gentle voice rose from the bridge. Soft inner journey ends where it begins. But no path is ever truly finished. Rayon smiled softly. He felt a warmth in his chest, a quiet certainty that he had grown stronger, not just in courage, but in understanding. Step by step, he moved forward, each pace glowing underfoot, sending ripples of light across the bridge. At the far end, the first rays of sun touched the horizon. The sky exploded in hues of pink, lavender, and gold, reflecting on river of fire and silver. Rayon stopped. The view was breathtaking, a promise of a new beginning. He whispered to the wind, "I have carried the stars, and they have carried me." Bridge seemed to shimmer in response, glowing brighter, as if acknowledging every step, every choice, every hope he had held. The valley below began to glow, liabilities lifting to reveal forests, rivers, and distant mountains. Rays of light touched every hidden corner, revealing beauty that had been waiting silently for him. The dawn is yours, and so is the path ahead. With one final step, he reached the other side of the bridge. The sun rose fully now, spilling golden light across everything. He turned to glance back at the shimmering path behind him, grateful for every step, every lesson, every star collected. And as he continued into the morning light, he knew the bridge of dawn was not just behind him, but inside him. A bridge of courage, hope, and endless possibilities. Beyond the bridge of dawn, Rayon entered a hidden courtyard, surrounded by walls of ivy and golden light. At the center stood a figure, tall and serene, draped in robes that shimmered like starlight. Thanksgiving smiled gently, and Rayon realized he had reached the keeper. "I have been waiting for you," the keeper said. Rayon bowed his head respectfully, had wondered what awaited him at the end of his journey, and now here it was, a calm presence that seemed to know every star he had collected. The keeper gestured to the lantern in Rayon's hands. "These stars you have gathered, they are not just lights in the sky, they are pieces of your heart." Licensing, Ryan's eyes widened. He had always thought he was collecting stars to light the night, but the keeper's words revealed a deeper truth. Each star you held, there's no good list of flakes, and good their love. It was a hope, a memory, a kindness you nurtured. The journey was never about gathering them outside yourself. It was about discovering the light within you. Rayon felt warmth spread through his chest. Every challenge, every silent garden, every river and mountain, weakest had shaped this light. Stepped closer, and his voice became even softer, high, like a lullaby. "Now you know, Rayon, bustling, the greatest light is not in the stars you hold, but in the heart that carries them." Rayon looked down at the lantern. Its glow seemed to pulse with understanding. He realized that the journey had been both outward and inward. "What do I do now?" he asked softly. The keeper smiled, eyes twinkling like distant suns. "You continue forward. Share your light. Guide those who are lost. Let your heart be the bridge for others, as the stars have been for you." Rayanne felt a quiet certainty settle over him. He had learned courage, patience, and hope. He had seen fear and doubt and transformed them into light. The keeper stepped back, and the courtyard seemed to shimmer in approval. "Remember, Rayanne, the journey never truly ends. Every heart you touch becomes a star in someone else's sky." Rayanne lifted the lantern higher, and for the first time, he understood the depth of his own light. It was infinite, ready to illuminate every shadow he might encounter. With a calm breath, he whispered, "I understand. I will carry this light forward." The keeper's smile lingered as Rayanne turned, lantern glowing steadily, ready for the final steps of his journey. And as he walked into the golden horizon, he carried not just stars, but the knowledge of their true source, the heart within him. Rayanne continued his journey, the keeper's words echoing gently in his heart. Ahead, the path led him to a hilltop, where the night sky stretched endlessly above. At the very summit, he saw a single star, brighter than any he had ever held. It floated just above the ground, glowing with a soft, inviting warmth. Rayanne approached slowly, his lantern glowing in harmony with the star. "Is this the last star?" he whispered. And in that light, Rayanne saw reflections of all the stars he had collected, every hindness, every memory. The last star was not separate, but the culmination of all his journey. Every step he had taken had led to this quiet, radiant moment. Rayanne knelt beside the star, then flew into his hands. "It is beautiful," he murmured, "but it is not mine to keep alone." Slowly he lifted the star high, and Hal watching into the sky. "Let it shine for everyone," he whispered. As it rose, the star's light spread across the horizon, touching rivers, forests, mountains, and villages. It sparked tiny lights in distant windows, glimmers of hope in hearts far away. Rayanne smiled, feeling a quiet joy unlike anything he had known. The stars he had carried, the rivers, mountains, and gardens he had walked, all found their place in this one moment of giving. The wind whispered, "You have learned to carry light. Now you know how to share it." He looked down at his lantern, still glowing softly. The journey had not ended, but he understood something profound. The greatest light is the one that spreads. Rayanne took a deep breath, feeling the gentle pulse of the night around him. Stars twinkled in the sky, reflecting the hope he had shared. His heart was light, steady, and full of warmth. "This is what it means to truly carry a star," he whispered. "Not just for yourself, but for the world." And as he gazed at the last star now shining high above, Rayanne felt a deep peace. The journey had taught him courage, patience, and kindness, and hope. Every step, every challenge, every silent moment had led him here. The night seemed to sigh softly, the stars shimmering, as if in approval. Rayan lifted his lantern once more and whispered to the sky, "May this light guide every heart that seeks its way." Dawn broke fully, spilling golden light across the valley. Rayan stood on the hilltop, lantern glowing softly, the last high and high in the sky. He felt a quiet joy, the kind that warms the heart without words. The journey had been long. Rivers, forests, mountains, and gardens. Every step a lesson, a teacher. Home was not a place, charge within. The keeper's words returned gently to him. The light you carry is yours, but it shines brightest when shared with the world. Rayan lifted his lantern high, and tiny sparks danced into the morning air, floating toward the stars. They joined the constellations above, becoming part of the sky itself. Every star I collected, every hope, every song, every promise, they all live within me, he whispered. As he descended the hill, he felt a gentle breeze caress his face. It carried whispers of the river of reflections, the silent garden, the mountain of echoes, and the bridge of dawn. Each place seemed to smile, acknowledging his journey, the light he now carried. He walked slowly, savoring each step, the lantern guiding his path. The world was quiet, peaceful, and full of possibility. Stars seemed to lean closer, letting their gentle glow reflecting his eyes. Ryan paused on a small hill overlooking the valley. He sat down, lantern at his side, closed his eyes. I am home. Not in a place, but among the stars I carry in my heart. The wind carried a gentle hum, marks of every song he had collected, wrapping him in already, feeling the quiet strength of the stars within him. The tiny sparks in the rivers, gardens, and mountains, now part of his own light. His journey had ended, but its lessons would live on forever. The lantern flickered softly, whispered one final thought. May every heart find its own light, and may every dreamer sleep in peace. And Ryan felt at peace. His eyes grew heavy, and surrounded by the glow of the stars his had. As I had, the stars drifting gently into rest. And so the journey came to an end. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and good night.